Welcome to our talk. Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Deidre Moss. I am the host of Can We Talk with Deidre Moss? I'm an educator, motivator, and a talk connoisseur. Today I'm joined by my former colleague, Deandre Williamson, who will help us to dissect the topic of journalism in the Bahamas. And this is a continuation from part one, where focused on this topic. So at this time, I will pass the virtual mic to our guest so that she can introduce herself.
Hi, Deidre. It's a pleasure to be on your show again. And I'm just happy to be here to see you once more and to discuss journalism in the Bahamas. Um, I'm the editor of the Bahama Journal newspaper, and I also work for Jones Communications Network here in the Bahamas. And I'm also the opportunities editor for the International Center for Journalists. It's an organization based in DC and Washington, D.C., actually. And I work for primarily for the publication IJNet, the International Journalist Network.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Can we talk journalism in the Bahamas?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Where do you
So
want to
before we
start with that
begin, if
topic?
you're tuning
It's
in,
a wide topic. So where do you want to start with that topic?
it
What
is
do you want to discuss?
it is a wide topic. It is a wide topic, and we're gonna get into that. But before we begin, if you're tuning in from our social media page and you just joined us, like and share for this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel using the links on our page. We need your support to continue these talks. Also, if you think there's something that we should be talking about, feel free to let us know. We do want to hear from you. Let us know if you'd like to advertise on our platform or sponsor our program. And with that, we will begin our session. And so I just want to bring you in to just briefly introduce yourself.
Again? Okay, I'm Deandre Williamson. Like I said earlier, I'm a journalist here in Nassau, Bahamas. And I work for the International Center for Journalists also that's based in Washington, D.C. And I'm the editor for the Bahama Journal newspaper, affiliate with Jones Communications Network.
I am so sorry for asking you to introduce yourself again because you already did that, right?
Oh,
I do apologize. Like, yeah. So, the last time when we spoke, you talked about climate journalism and, the role of a climate journalist. And I don't know if you want to touch a little bit on that again, because climate journalism, I think it's still a big thing as we talk about global warming and all these things that are impacting our communities, especially with the Bahamas being a small island developing nation. I don't know if you want to touch on that just a little bit.
yes, climate change is, I should say, the one of the biggest or the most important topics, global issues right now of our time. And I think every journalist at some point in their career has to focus on climate. That's just what it is now. And for journalists in the Bahamas, I think we are all climate journalists at some point because most of us have covered hurricanes and environmental issues. So we can consider ourselves as climate journalists because, like I said, that's the biggest topic of the world right now. If you ain't talking about climate, something ain't right. That's just what it is. And our Prime Minister Philip Davis, he is an advocate in this region for speaking up for small and developing states like the Bahamas, that we are vulnerable to the threats of climate change. We've seen it. Hurricane Dorian showed us. If you don't believe it, this thing is here and it's here and it's not really going anywhere right now unless we put our heads together and we collaborate with other nations around the world and let them know that, hey, look, something has to be done to help protect us. And climate journalism is important because journalists, we have the responsibility of telling the story, telling the narrative to the world of the effects of this situation. We have to show them. We have to explain to the world how climate is affecting the Bahamas because our health is being affected by climate change. I did a story that was sometime last year, whereby I spoke to this doctor. He was one of the doctors responsible for the clinic in Abaco during Dorian, and he's currently now he says persons are still coming in to his clinic, where he's stationed in Abaco or in Nassau, and they are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Yes, he's seeing children now who went through Dorian, they're coming into his office with post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. Whenever they hear rain, they get afraid. Just rain, children in these areas that were affected by Dorian. So when they hear thundering and lightning, all these things are affecting their mental health, and it's a result of climate change. Okay, so a lot has to be done, and these stories have to be told to the world so persons can know what's going on here and how we're being affected. And where there's also stories that need to be told on climate justice, the fight for climate justice in our region, because we need justice. We need to be paid. Who's going to fund? Who's going to help us rebuild after Dorian? Every time before, not after Dorian, but after hurricanes in general, because as fast as a hurricane leaves us and we start to rebuild and recover, a few years later, even if finished rebuilding and recovering as yet, another storm hits us and destroys what we're rebuilding. So who's going to help us pay for the damages? Okay, billions of dollars we lose in damages because of hurricanes in our country and in our region. So a lot has to be done in telling these stories, because the global north, the industrialized countries that are responsible for the carbon emissions in the atmosphere, should be held accountable. They need to be held accountable, because global south countries like us, we're being affected big time, and it's not our fault. We are not at fault for the climate crisis. We don't even emit the amount of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, or the carbon in the atmosphere, compared to the industrialized countries. We probably emitted nothing compared to what they do. So they're responsible for this mess the world is in. So they should clean it up and pay us and help us battle this situation. Okay.
Hi, Dalton. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, DeAndre. Thank you for definitely providing that insight. And as you would have shared, who is going to tell the story? It's really up to those who are in the front lines to really share, what's really going on. And you talk about um, from 2017, you still have persons feeling the impact
It's
from
2019
Hurricane.
the story. 2019,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
definitely. And you
persons
still
are
have
still
persons.
rebuilding. I've been to Freeport the other day, and
Sorry,
I was
2019. Sorry.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
2019 during was in 2019. I went to
Mm-hmm.
Freeport a few weeks ago, and I went to this area, High Road, that was hit really badly. And I was like, when you enter a
You
community, you
went
can
to
see the
where?
disaster.
Where?
You can still Freeport, Grand Bahama, that was hit by Dorian. Yeah, this area I went to High Rock, and
Okay.
just by entering the community, as you began to enter, you could see the devastation. You could see the
Wow.
lingering effects of what has happened there. All right, the pine trees split in half. I mean, top gone, just the sticks shooting up out the ground. And I
Wow.
mean, some buildings still destroyed. I went to a restaurant there. I met this guy called, you could call him Bishop in the area, and I didn't even ask him anything. And he just opened up and telling me how he lost um his hotel, his business, and he just started to rebuild and get himself back together. And during the storm, he lived in his car with his wife for several days. All right, these are stories people want to still tell. Okay, it's like we still have storytelling to do, more storytelling to do, because so many persons were affected, and they want the world to know what they're going through, because they need help. He needs help. Who's going to rebuild? Like we said earlier, who's going to help rebuild? Okay, and these stories have to be told to the world, not just within the Bahamas, but to the region and to the world, because if they don't see the people persons don't see what has happened, they won't want to assist us. And I also met a lady too who lost her husband and two children during Dorian in Freeport, and she's the only surviving person. Now, I mean, when she started to tell me a story, her eyes started to water. And it's now what today is? It's what 2024. This year makes 5 years since Dorian passed, and persons are still hurting. Okay, she'll never see her husband and children again. All right, and she's moving forward from that hurt, but think about it. She said she's working on a documentary now with an international organization who's doing a documentary on Dorian, and they want her to tell a story. But that's a hurt she has to live with for the rest of her life. So how many other persons have that same situation they're going through? And also too, I went in that community. I also visited. I saw a monument. There's a monument there with the names of persons who died from that community during the storm. So it's like the heartache and the pain is still there. You could see it. As a journalist, you could sense these things, and you know when you could see a story from a distance, and it's affecting you as well because you feel the pain of the persons, and you want to tell that story. So that's how important our role is as climate journalists. We are it's like for us, the stories don't end. It's like almost like endless because the world needs to know.
Definitely, and thank you for sharing that. And sometimes we don't think about the fact, like you said, is we're in 2024, and we don't sometimes we don't think, especially if you weren't really affected, they're still trying to rebuild, after the hurricane. And so, who is going to tell the story? And that's why it's so important that we have journalists in place to tell these stories and continue to share. Like you said, when we put that information out there, you will have, people coming on board who will be willing and wanting to assist. But they have to know. Um, and so when we think about our culture, and we think about journalism in the Bahamas, how do you think our culture impacts journalism in the Bahamas?
Well, the Bahamian culture impacts journalism because first of all, let's talk about the ethics of journalism. Okay, we our job is to seek the truth, to report it, to act independently, to look out for the vulnerable. And Bahamians were known as friendly people, generally. Okay, and that part of our culture, to me, can extend into journalism because we have to be approachable for folks we interview. We have to be sensitive towards them. We have to be able to show that love, I should say, when we're telling the story, that sensitivity, know how to tell a story from someone who survived Orient. Okay, even from a child's perspective, how do we tell that? Okay, we have to be very careful in those situations. So our culture really, really plays a role in that as well. So when you say Bahamian culture, that's another wide topic as well, as it relates to journalism, because I'm going to approach you as a Bahamian, even if I'm interviewing an international person. Okay, you're going to feel the Bahamian vibe from me when I'm talking to you. All right, you're going to feel our friendliness, our love, our warmth when I'm talking to you, and that's going to set the pace for how our interview will go.
Thank you. And when you think about, well, I don't think that is specific to our culture, because I was gonna talk about those I was gonna say talk about pop-up persons on social media. Sometimes you have information that is already spilled into social media, without those facts, and you have persons, they may be at the scene or they may record something and they may post it. But I don't think that's just a phenomenon. That's just
Oh,
um,
you mean that you talking about like gossiping then, or something like that, or being a
yeah,
citizen journalist? Okay, that's not culture then. Oh, okay,
yeah,
that's something.
yeah,
That's a different topic then. So if
yeah,
you want to talk about something like that, whereby persons would just go out there and post things on social media, that happens in every country, not just
yeah,
here. So it's not just a culture thing. No, every country, we have people nowadays because we have the phones. Everyone has phones now. Everyone is on social media. So if they go somewhere and they see something happened, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, let me record that and post it on social media." Sometimes it can be insensitive in that. You shouldn't be. I don't think you should post certain situations, someone arguing or fighting, or someone being killed or stabbed to death on social media and make it viral. That's highly insensitive.
yeah.
We shouldn't be doing that. And as journalists, we have to be careful in that as well. So, like for instance, if we see something like that, we have to either verify it too. We can't just say, okay, well, something happened because someone posted. We have to contact the police officers, ask them about that situation, or or the person who posted, things like that, so we can actually get information for ourselves. We can't just go on hearsay or what persons post on social media. We have to go to the scene ourselves and see what's happening before we can use something like that from social media. Okay, we have to be very careful in our reporting, especially when it comes to things like that.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know the last time that we spoke, we talked about digital media and the way how people are getting their news today. today. So it's not the same as in the past where you would have persons purchase their newspaper, they sit down on the porch and read the newspaper or listen to the radio. Sometimes like my parents used to do, listen to the radio to hear the news or sit down in front of the TV and watch the news. It's different. And so what are your thoughts on digital media and persons just getting snapshots? They don't want to sit down and watch the entire newscast. So, they just get a snapshot of what would have happened. What are your thoughts on the digital media increase and how we get our news today?
Yeah, well, there has been a tremendous change in the way people consume news. Persons prefer to go to social media one time. Why should I sit down and read a newspaper or go buy a newspaper? People don't do that anymore. There is a percentage of our population, mind you now, that still wants the hard copy of a newspaper rather than a digital copy. That elderly generation, that old school generation, your grandparents and the great grandparents, they want that hard copy newspaper. Okay, case closed. All right. But then there are young people like me and and the Gen Zs. Into that. No, we want the digital thing. So the majority of the population now uses digital media, the social media, and they want to go to Twitter, call it X now, Facebook, Instagram. You go to YouTube, even watching the news on television now. Who wants to sit in front of a TV and watch television news when you could be on your phone or on your laptop or something else and watch it like that? Okay, it has people consume news differently now. Okay, so that's just the way it is. But at the same time, journalists, we have to embrace these social media trends. Okay, and be creative in the way we tell our stories as well, so that we can maintain an audience, because we don't want our audience to leave us because we're not keeping up with the trends and the changes in media. So we have to evolve as well and embrace social media platforms to get our information out to young people.
Definitely, because it has changed. I mean, people no longer. I don't even see people really. I mean, you have some persons who they still buy the newspaper, but for the most part, some of these things are becoming more obsolete. People are really, if focus on their phones.
Even
Um,
radio, people don't even listen to radio anymore. Okay, who
mm,
turns on a physical radio in their house unless
but
it's
you
an
have the
elderly
radio on
person?
your phone. You have the
Huh?
radio on your phone. You have the
Yeah, you
radio on
do.
your
You
phone.
do. Exactly. So people don't even listen to radio stations anymore. So and then
Hmm.
because of that train, that different shift in media, it has hurt the way the business model of news organizations.
Yeah,
Because the news organizations depended on ads from newspaper sales, ads from radio, ads from TV for their upkeep. But because
yeah,
persons don't utilize those things anymore, news organizations have seen a decrease in revenue. Their revenue has gone down a lot. Okay, so they have to now embrace the social media and the digital media aspects to generate revenue for their companies, because the old school model of doing journalism is not there. Of getting revenue and stuff is not there.
yeah,
Your sales department now doesn't even make sense having it in some sense, because persons can't get people to advertise the way they used to. You see, so that's just what it
yeah.
is. Because people advertise more on Facebook now. If you're not on Facebook or
Hmm.
social media, Twitter,
TikTok.
TikTok, yes, that's a good one. Instagram, you're not saying anything if your business isn't on those platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It definitely has changed. We talked about off record. We spoke about the travel advisories, and we spoke about the Bahamas being one of those nations on travel advisory, and there being a report saying let's not put that information out there. Let's not asking the reporters or journalists not to put that information out there. I told you I didn't want to touch it, but let's talk about it just a little bit.
No, you're referring to the part where the prime minister told the press to refrain or be careful as to where they place crime stories, because in the newspapers or in the media, because it's giving he thinks it's creating a situation whereby it's causing the international community or international countries like the US to put out travel advisories saying that the Bahamas has a lot of crime and this and that. But where we place our news stories, our crime stories, has nothing to do with your travel, the country issuing a travel, another country is issuing a travel advisory. Okay, has nothing to do with that. And the prime minister has no place to tell the media where we should place a crime story. Okay, because crime stories go on depending on what it is. A Don Sanders story that had to go on the front page. That had to be headline. Okay, he's a former member of parliament. Who would have placed that
Mhm.
someplace else in the newspaper? That was top story. So how could the prime minister say not to place crime stories on our front pages? And furthermore, and he's saying, but it's hurting the reputation of the country, this and that. But newspapers, like we said earlier, they're dying. Okay, who buys that? So how the hell that is going to cause another country to issue a travel advisory when they don't even read our physical copy of our newspaper? Come on, sir. Okay, so
So,
that was just the dumbest thing he could have said. But anyway,
so do you
we
think journalists play a role in these issues with travel
don't play a role.
advisories?
No, we don't play a role in that. But it's just the information that's out there. How he said, be careful where we place our stories. No one, no, our crime stories, but no one's going to listen to him with that. No sensible editor, no sensible news reporter is going to listen to the prime minister with that statement. No one listened to him. Our crime stories took the front pages off, even more so after that. Okay, so and his stories went someplace else in the paper. Put it like that. But we don't have we didn't cause the United States to issue a warning. All right, they issued that because they wanted to issue that. Okay, because information is spread all over. So when someone gets murdered, notices go out to the media from the police force. It ends up on social media for people to see it. So it ends up it's out there. All right. If a tourist gets attacked, the information is reported in the press. That's the procedure. If the U.S. wants to issue an advisory, that's the United States problem. I mean, that's on them, not on us. Okay, so don't put that on the on the press. All right, because yeah, it is. My thing is, okay, if the U.S. issuing a travel advisory concerning the Bahamas, why won't you issue a travel advisory for the Bahamas about the U.S.? How much more crime? The U.S. has more crime than I don't know how much other country in this region or in this hemisphere. Okay, more mass shootings over there, more killings over there. The Bahamas, with the murder rate, and the thing we got down here is nothing compared to the amount of crime that's happening in the United States. Our murder, I mean, is our crime is our level is so low compared to them. So he should have a better response than to tell the press, refrain from, putting crime stories on the front page because it's not our fault. Sorry, it's not. Don't put that on the media. Okay, he needs to do more from his government. The government needs to do more to fight crime if he has an issue with that instead of pointing fingers at the media. Okay, that's what he should be doing. Fight crime so they could stop probably. I mean, and I never think it would even stop the U.S. from doing that. U.S. won't stop no travel advisories. That's just them. If they put out that's on them. They have to protect their citizens. All right, and our country should do the same too. But they put out advisory. We put out one too because U.S. more dangerous than here.
So you do not believe that journalists play a role in those travel advisories? No.
No, we don't. We don't. No, that's something the U.S. they just because we're a tourist destination, and the country. I'm really like the envy of this region. Put it like that. We are one of those countries that we're doing well compared to other countries on our level. So to make people afraid to come here, it's a tactic, to deter tourists to go someplace else or to hurt our tourism industry. But people do research for themselves. That didn't stop Americans from coming here. Did they say no, they won't come here anymore? No, Americans, our tourism numbers are doing well. So an advisory from the U.S. won't stop tourists from coming to the Bahamas. Okay, because people do their own research. They're going to research where they're going to be staying in the Bahamas. They're going to research whether the community, the hotel is high crime or not. They're going to look for these things, and who wouldn't? So the person who's traveling has to do their homework as well and know
Hmm.
that where they're going is safe. Have a backup plan if things happen. So you just have to they just have
Yeah,
to be cautious. That's all it is. Because we travel to the U.S. all the
definitely.
time, and we have to be cautious. We have to when we see
You have
danger.
to do your research, like you say. You have to do
Exactly.
your research.
Mhm.
There's a recent tweet or some type of media, something that went out, with an influencer who said that a friend of a friend came to the Bahamas. I think she shaved a leg or something like that, and she went to Pig Island in Exuma. One of the I believe, yeah, pig where one of the islands where the
Okay.
pigs are in the water. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so she went swimming and she lost her leg or something happened. And so there's something
Oh,
circulating in the media. And so now she's realizing that, well, she made a video on TikTok and she said, well, the health minister of the Bahamas made this statement and said that she is reporting fake news. But the thing is that she's saying now that, oh, I didn't know if I shave my legs and I go in the water that I would be impacted, or there's some type of flesh eating bacteria or something going on. But at the end of the day, wherever you're going or wherever you're traveling to, you should do some type of research to figure out, where am I going to, what am I dealing with. And I thought that would be common knowledge, that if
yeah,
you
it's common
shave your
sense. You should,
leg, and you have an
yeah.
open wound, that you shouldn't go in the water. Like, what I mean? I thought that's common knowledge.
Yeah, but sometimes some persons don't know because they don't. Some of them don't probably don't live in
I would think so.
areas like ours,
But
coastal areas.
yeah,
Yeah.
you could go ahead.
So yeah, so yeah, probably she probably didn't know, you know, and didn't do a research. Things like that happen. And then sometimes some tourists they come here, they don't follow the rules as well. So they'll be starting to say no swimming here, and they will still want to go swimming there. So when things happen,
Mhm.
you can't always complain because sometimes it's their fault too when they come here and get in these trouble and these accidents because they don't follow the rules and regulations in place. Okay. One time that was many years ago when I was younger. This tourist came to the Bahamas, where she was a missionary, and she wanted to go to the beach. And because she went to Port Ski Dock and she saw water, she thought she could swim in that. Like, you can't go in that. You don't swim in Port Ski Dock. No, they have dock there. That's not for you to swim in. No, you can't do that because she expressed that she wanted to go jump in Port Ski Dock, the water near there by the Brit. No, you're not going to go swimming in that area. That's not for swimming.
Wow.
Okay, that's a harbor. All right, for boats
Yeah.
to dock. Don't go there. You go to the beach. So some silly stuff,
Right.
they would do. Tourists do silly things like
Right.
that. All right, they would see the sign say no lifeguards, don't swim. You're
Mhm.
at your own risk, and they would still jump in. So if you
Mhm.
jump in and you didn't follow the rules, you can't say blame the media or someone else. But that's your negligence.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so we're winding down. We're coming to the end of our session. And I just want to give you just a few minutes if you haven't covered anything, if you would like to share anything before we close our session today. Is there anything else you'd like to add or anything you'd like to share in reference to journalism in the Bahamas?
Okay, well, from an international perspective, the hottest topic that's being discussed in journalism now internationally, one of them actually, I should say, is artificial intelligence, AI in news. And our
Oh
journalists,
yeah, definitely. Oh yeah.
we haven't had any major discussions collectively concerning the invasion of AI in news in the Bahamas. Okay, as yet, well, we haven't seen it as yet, but it's going to come eventually, and that's something we should consider, or we need to sit down with journalists here and discuss because AI is coming. It's coming. It's coming to stay. Okay, and we have to know how to use it, how to recognize, even if we don't discuss with journalists in our newsrooms, we have to recognize whether that reporter is using AI to tell stories or AI to get information. Because here it is, AI isn't designed to think the way journalists think. All right, AI it's been around for a very long time, but now it's a lot of attention is being placed on it because it has improved over the years, and it can hurt journalism, and it can help journalism. So it goes both ways. It can help us and it can hurt us. But we have to know how to use it. How do I decipher this information that I get from AI? Okay, I could ask. We have this thing called Chat GPT, where an app journalists can use to get information from on a particular story, a particular topic. But the information, the AI generated information, isn't always accurate, isn't always right. So because AI wasn't designed to think the way journalists think, like I said. Okay, so with AI, journalists have to know how to verify the facts, verify the information that AI is going to give them, and you cannot take everything AI gives you for gospel and say it's the truth. All right, because it could get you in trouble, because AI can lead to the spread of misinformation and disinformation, and that's something journalists have to be aware of. They should be aware of in this day and age, and they have to be very cautious when using it. You could use it for your research, but verify that fact before you come to the with your final story. Verify that information that you got. Verify the research that was given to you. Do your extra homework. And then some persons, journalists, discussing worldwide as well whether AI will take our jobs from us. Um, I think personally no, because in journalism, if you're a good journalist, okay, you should go there and get your story. Don't allow AI. AI can't wasn't designed to go out there and interview someone for you. No, AI can't do that for you. So when people say, "Oh, it's going to take our jobs from us," I don't think so. It's not going to take our jobs, because we have to be the ones to be held accountable at the end of the day when a story is completed. You have to be the one to take that story to the next level. All right, you have to be the one to go and chase your facts, chase your information, chase your sources. Okay, AI can't do that. I want to interview you. I have to go and sit down and interview you face to face. I want to see you. I want to see your emotions. I want to be able to tell the details from that interview for the story. AI can't do that. So we could use it to help us when it comes to transcribing information, transcribing those notes in those video or audio files. But then even too with transcribing using AI technology, you should still go back and listen to your audio and check whether AI transcribe the information correctly, because there can be mistakes in your transcription. Okay. So journalists, I think once they know how to use it and how to be careful and to be cautious and stick to the ethical principles that governs our profession, or guides our profession, I should say, they would be okay with the invasion of AI and the amount of AI tools that's going to come to help journalists in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I just had to adjust something, but thank you so much for sharing that. And it's definitely true for me as an educator. And sometimes I talk to my students about AI, and I tell them, we want to hear your voice. And even though it can be beneficial in that, you're having support with helping you with your work, to write a paper or whatever assistance it can offer you, we really want to hear your voice. And so um I wouldn't say scary, but the concerning part for me is here on one side, the concern of person saying, okay, maybe this is gonna come for our jobs, because maybe this is gonna replace us. But still there is a need to really understand that there's only so far that it can go, and maybe at some point, maybe the intelligence will go to the point where it can really imitate the stories of a person. But for the most part, I think where we're at now, for me as an educator, and what I tell my students, because I do have some students who do utilize the technology, and I tell them, you could use it to help support you in your writing, or use it to help you support you in your work. But at the end of the day, we still want to hear your voice, and we still want to hear from you. And I don't think it's at the level where it's at now to really imitate a person at that level, to where I no
You could take no, but yeah, one of the biggest things too,
but
for like even in
yeah.
education and in journalism,
Yeah.
um, even in education and in journalism,
Yeah.
one of the biggest things with AI, uh, the problem is it can lead to plagiarism. Okay, because journalists shouldn't plagiarize, and educators and students should not plagiarize either. So they have to know, what they're doing with this tool.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Because and
absolutely.
also too, as an educator and as an editor, I need to know whether the report is plagiarizing using an AI tool.
Yeah,
I'm supposed to be able to detect that in their writing. All right, so that's the biggest issue,
absolutely,
right? We're going to be concerned about going forward in the
absolutely.
future, because we don't want them to come with a generated story from AI and say that's what they wrote, and that all mixed up and all the type stuff. So the same thing you have to be concerned about, I have to be concerned about as well in the newsroom, and be able to detect these things when they happen, or be able to be on top of it, be like, you know what, you think you slick. This is an AI generated story you gave to me just now. So yeah, and I think a way to overcome
Right.
that is to put in place policies in newsrooms and in schools concerning the use of AI in their work. That a lot of newsrooms now are doing that on international organizations that support journalists. They have policies in place that helps journalists to really navigate the use of AI in their work. All right, so it's like a list of guidelines as to what you should do, what you should not do when you're
Definitely,
using the AI tool, to protect your credibility. That's the other thing
definitely.
too. You want to protect your credibility as a journalist. So yeah, you have to understand how this AI thing is going to affect the future of this profession and education, actually all sectors in society going forward. I lost you, Deidre. I guess we lost connection. Hello? You back?
I think we were having some technical issues, but it seems like
Yeah,
we're
technically,
back
yeah, I lost.
up
Yeah, you lost
now.
connection.
I don't. Yeah, we're back. There was some technical issue, but I can hear you.
You could edit that. You gotta edit that out. Can you edit that part? Okay.
Hi. Okay, so I think we're having some technical issue. Ending of this session. Yes, I can see you now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but there is a
Yeah,
delay
okay.
with
So
your audio.
yeah, there's a delay. I don't Yeah, I can hear you now. I don't know what the technical I don't know what that issue was all about. But any final words before I close out the session?
No, I said that was
I
my
know you
final comment right there
spoke about
on the
AI.
AI thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I was trying to encapsulate my whole thoughts on it, and it really, like I said, being an educator, and like I tell my students, I inform them, and I tell them it's fine. It's gonna benefit you if it's gonna help to support you and help you in your processes and doing the work that you need to do. But it's not meant to do the work for you. You still have to do the work. And so with that, there's a concern for me, and I know it's supposed to be a technology that is supposed to benefit us, but like I said, it should not be meant to replace us, because we're irreplaceable. So it's not meant to replace us as human beings. And I know that there's some concern among persons, with the writing strike and all these things going on, and them using AI to write out these scripts and write out these programs. It should not be meant to replace human beings. It is there to support and there to help. But if you're using that technology as a replacement for the natural talent, skills, and ability of human beings, you're definitely out of pocket and out of place, because that is not what the technology is for. Yes, we do want to embrace technology if it's going to benefit and support us. But if you're talking about bringing in technology that's going to replace us, that's another story. That's another story. Okay. And so that's definitely a big thing. Going on right now. So I definitely stand with you behind that, and just being interested in seeing where this is going to go, because the technology is still growing and is still, room for it to evolve. And so it's going to be interesting to see the evolution of this technology. And so I want to thank you for sharing that. And so that, but if you have no further thoughts, that brings us to the end of this session. I want to thank you for spending your time with us today. I know this was short notice, but you always come through like a trooper. And I want to thank you for being dedicated to the cause, being dedicated to journalism, and really, you're someone who's not afraid of controversy. You're someone who is not afraid to say it like it is, and to really share your thoughts on those things. So I want to commend you for that. Sometimes I tend to want to stray away from the controversy, but you're someone, you gonna walk right in it. You gonna walk right in
Yes, of
that.
course. I mean, why? We have to tell it like it is. You have to tell the
I
facts. I
know,
mean,
I know.
we call it
But we
spade a
can we can
spade.
do it
Come on, let's
diligently.
go. I'm an independent journalist. I don't work for no government. You can't control what we say. We're going to tell the truth. We're going to tell the facts, whether you like it or not. Okay, we cannot sugarcoat stuff. No, we're not trained to sugarcoat and present things pretty. No, we present the facts, and you take it as it is. Okay, be objective. You take your side. That's what it is. You take it as it is. I just give you the information. All right, and sometimes we explain stuff. We be explanation too on certain issues. So that's what it is. And some people are afraid of that
It
type of
is
journalism.
what it
They're
is.
afraid of investigative journalism. They're afraid of those things. I don't know why, but that's just you can't be like that. As a society, you have to be transparent. Journalists, we're supposed to be transparent. We cannot hide, okay, or cover up things. Because if we do that, we're going to be
No,
hurting democracy.
I don't think it's about
Yes.
covering it up. I think people may
Yeah.
probably be a little bit afraid of victimization, afraid of being
But
intimidated. I
I
think
don't
people
get
may have
no.
that fear.
Who's going to victimize me? You see?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't. No.
But
Now,
I
if
don't want
I'm
to take
wrong,
away the
mhm.
fear from some persons, in a real fear of being victimized and being blackballed. This is a real fear for some persons. I don't want to take
I
away from
understand
them,
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It is. It is. It is. But journalists are called to be bold and fearless in their reporting. Okay, bold and fearless. You're afraid of no one, no politician, no leader, no nothing. Okay, you do your job. You do it the best of your ability, and you present your information without fear. Okay, without favor, without bias, and you let the public take it as it is. Let them interpret it how they want to interpret it. That's what it's all about. You see? Yeah, but it was a pleasure to join you this evening on your show again. Thanks for having me. Thanks for
Thank you for your
inviting me back.
time, girl.
Yes, no
Absolutely.
problem. Yes, so
Absolutely. Don't
anytime,
afraid to hit
whenever you
those
want
hard
to
topics.
discuss something controversial or something
Oh Lord. Oh
specific
Lord.
to the profession, or you want to go more in depth on AI or more in depth on other journalism topics like solutions journalism, investigative journalism, things like that, you can let me know. Climate journalism, whatever it is on that topic. But we got to go in depth, okay? No general stuff. In depth, because people want to know about these things and they want to know how we're coping in the Bahamas as journalists concerning these topics. Because AI, like I said, that's being discussed
Oh yeah.
across the globe. Every journalism organization I know of, they're having meetings with journalists concerning this, public events like this, webinars. They're having different talks with journalists and different programs they're implementing on AI so journalists can understand what's happening. What is this tool? How is it going to affect us? So I think more of that has to be done in our country. Okay, that's what I think. The press club should lead the way on that, having these talks with journalists in newsrooms about AI and the future of journalism in the Bahamas as it relates to using those tools with their reporting.
Definitely, definitely. And thank you so much. That brings us to the end of our session. Thank you for tuning in and joining us in our talk today. I would like to thank our guest, Deandre Williamson, for sharing insight with us today. We want to remind you, if you want to advertise with us, let us know. You can also reach out to us through our page. Our contacts are there. We want to grow, so grow with us. Those watching social media, to those watching, thank you for listening in. Like our page for future notifications of upcoming talks. Comment under our videos, let us know your thoughts, and let us know what you want us to talk about. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Can We Talk? Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, X, TikTok, using the addresses that are provided on our page. And remember, let's think, talk, do. I want to apologize for our technical difficulties that we had tonight that was outside of our scope. And so, with that, we come to the end of our session. I want to say good night and thank you for joining us. Bye.